Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Oshesky, and I'm a registered dietitian at Kelly's Choice Nutritional Company. And today we are going to talk about Kelly's tips for cancer prevention. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys now. And a little bit about our company before I get diving in on Kelly's tips for cancer prevention. So we are a company based out of upstate New York in Skaneateles. We were founded 9 years ago in 2012. We specialize in workplace wellness. We also do tons of nutrition counseling in private practice with weight loss. We work with kids in schools with school nutrition, sports nutrition. We help people with their GI issues, tons and tons of different stuff. Other exciting news going on with Kelly's Choice right now is that we just became a provider for Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Cigna MVP. So we can actually submit claims for you for your nutrition counseling, which is amazing. It can be covered directly from your insurance. We have a virtual platform called Healthy. It provides 24/7 access to nutrition education, and you can also message our registered dietitians on there with any questions you may have 24/7. If you want to get signed into our platform, just send an email to info@kellyschoice.org and we will get you signed up right away. So some quick fast facts about cancer tip prevention for cancer tips. So being overweight or obese can actually increase your risk of being diagnosed with certain cancers. Okay. So that's why it's so important to have a healthy diet, get in regular physical activity. More than 30% of cancer cases can actually be prevented. So we can stop them from happening if we're getting in that regular physical activity and that movement every single day and having a generally healthy diet. And so that's something we're going to dive deeper in today. I'll give you guys tips on different meals you can do, different snack ideas, different ways to get in all your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, and keep your cholesterol down, your blood pressure down, all of that good stuff, along with preventing cancer. Also, another quick fast fact is on average, Americans only consume one fruit and one vegetable per day. So 1 in 10 Americans are not meeting their needs for fruits and vegetables. It's super important to get in your fruits and vegetables. And today I'll dive in of how much fruits and vegetables you want to have each and every single day, and also why it's so important to get in those fruits and vegetables every day. The last fast fact that I'm going to share with you guys is that in 2000, each American consumed on average 7 more pounds of red meat than compared back into the 1950s. So I'm not knocking red meat at all. Beef is amazing. We just want to get it in the right ways and the right amounts. Okay. So we don't want to overconsume beef or red meat. It can lead to things like cardiovascular disease, also known as heart disease, and certain types of cancer. So we want to make sure we're staying within that portion size, anywhere to about 4 to 6 ounces per meal. And also we're sticking with those leaner cuts of meat. So what I mean by that is that they're lower in saturated fat. That's the importance. So let's talk about now that link between cancer and diet. So when we talk about autoimmune diseases, right, those are genetic. They're not, you can't really prevent them. They're kind of inept to happen, but not all health problems are avoidable, but you have more control over your health than you think. And so what do I mean by that? Food is medicine. This term I say all the time, because what you're eating and also what you're not eating, and those nutrients that you're not including in your diet, or that fiber that you're not including in your diet, have an extremely powerful effect on your health. Okay. And it can also lead to a higher chance of being diagnosed with cancer. So without knowing it, you may be eating many foods that fuel cancer. And we're going to talk about those foods today, foods to add in and foods to avoid, because by making those small changes to your diet and your behaviors, you can actually help lower your risk of getting diseases and possibly even stop cancer in its track. So the cancer prevention diet, whether you're already dealing with cancer right now, or whether you have a history of it in your family or it's genetic, your diet still plays a substantial role in your outcomes. Okay. So some foods can increase your risk of cancer, while other foods can strengthen your body's immune system, right? We hear a lot about, especially throughout COVID, your immune response, your vitamin C, your vitamin D, your zinc, your magnesium. 70% of your immunity is actually produced in your gut. So if you're not properly taking care of your gut and feeding yourself the proper foods, you can see other issues with your immune system, which can be an issue with if you're someone who actually already has cancer or if you're trying to prevent getting cancer. So now we're going to talk about preventing cancer and complications. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 different concepts: variety, balance, and color. We all hear, right? You want to eat the rainbow. You want to get in all those different fruits and those different vegetables. There's not a single food, there's no single cure. I'm going to say if you eat apples every day, you can prevent or fight cancer. It's all the foods coming together, right? So from your fruits, your vegetables, getting in your whole grains. So you're getting in good sources of fiber, nuts, soybeans. They can help lower your risk of cancer and other complications like having high cholesterol and high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. They can also help prevent or reverse type 2 diabetes by stabilizing those blood sugars. So each type of fruit and vegetable contains different antioxidants. So what are those different antioxidants? You have beta carotene, you have vitamin C, which we talked about being a really good for immunity, vitamin E, selenium. So this is why it's important that you want to choose a variety of foods instead of just getting the same fruits and vegetables every single day. And if we're doing that variety of foods, we're able to reap the benefits of all the produce. So now we're going to talk about a plate of whole foods, going back to that power of 5, my plate, what we love, incorporating your fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains, those lean sources of protein, and kind of carrying that dairy down into that protein category. So instead of focusing on adding in those whole foods, which are foods closer to their original form, you don't need to become a vegetarian to benefit or to prevent this diet, right? You can get in that animal protein. It's safe to consume in moderation. We're also going to talk about you want to reduce the amount of processed foods that you're having. We want to stick with more of those whole foods. Those processed foods, they're stripping the fiber out, where those whole foods naturally contain that fiber. Okay. So it's kind of like the difference between having apple juice and just eating an apple. That apple juice, they're going to strip out that fiber, where that apple is going to naturally contain that fiber. So quick tips for an anti-cancer diet. I'll kind of skim through some of these quick ideas. So you have good ideas for breakfast, lunch, dinners, and even snacks and desserts. Okay. So for breakfast, I always tell my patients, breakfast is your best time to throw in fruit. Everyone wants fruit in the morning. People typically don't always want veggies in the morning. So I say fruit is the time to get it in breakfast, 100%. You can also throw seeds, nuts with it to kind of get in that whole grain aspect, right? We want to get that fiber protein combination. So by adding oatmeal, you're getting in that fiber and protein. And by throwing more fruit on top, you're still getting in more fiber, which is absolutely excellent. You're hitting about that 5 to 7 grams at that meal, because that's how much fiber you want to have per meal. Okay, so now let's dive into lunch. So we want to eat a big salad, right? That's an easy way to get in your vegetables. You can throw in your beans. That's an excellent plant-based protein. Throwing in peas, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Throwing in peas is another really helpful way. You can throw in more veggies on the side, dip them in hummus, or even do a piece of fruit. An easy way to get in protein at lunchtime, throw some grilled chicken or grilled fish on top of your salad. Okay, so we're going to skip over snacks and then we're going to go into dinner. So for dinner, your fresh and frozen veggies, frozen are okay to do. There's a big stigma that frozen aren't. They're totally fine to do. They still contain all those nutrients. Grab some whole grain pasta. You could even do some homemade pizza. And for the crust, doing that whole grain crust. Or you could do a whole grain rice, okay? You could also do some broccoli, sauteed veggies with salsa. And then again, going back to that protein. So you can add in those lean sources of protein, from fish to turkey to chicken to lean sources of beef. Okay, so now we'll finish with snacks and desserts. So snacking, your best thing, again, just like breakfast, that fiber protein combination. So taking fruits and vegetables, maybe adding a cheese stick to it or a hard-boiled egg. And you can see here, there's a whole list of different fruits and veggies that are amazing to add in, and you could dip them in hummus like it says right there. And then dessert. So the recommendation for dessert, we always want something sweet, right? So going back to that fruit at the end of the day, just like we started our day, or a single square of dark chocolate. We know dark chocolate has tons of benefits if you have it in moderation. So fruits and veggies are definitely that cancer fighting powerhouse. So now we'll talk about how much we want to have, because we know 1 in 10 Americans are not meeting those recommendations. So the recommended daily value is 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. So now we're going to talk about fruits. More better? Absolutely not, right? We want to stay in moderation. We know fruits are carb dense source. Vegetables, on the other hand, they don't have that added sugar content. So the more, honestly, the better. They also contain minimal fat, minimal sodium, and minimal calories, but they fill you up because they're loaded with fiber. So these characteristics are what your immune system requires to protect against that cancer illness. So fighting cancer with fiber. Fiber is the number one thing we talk about at Kelly's Choice. We love, love, love fiber. The recommendation for fiber is 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day. The average American is only getting about 10 grams of fiber per day. Okay. Absolutely not enough. It's necessary for your digestive system. Absolutely necessary. So eating a diet high in fiber can help prevent tons of different cancers like digestive system cancers, stomach cancer, mouth cancer, pharynx cancer, all different types of cancers. So we want to push more towards that whole grain bread, whole grain pasta, whole grain brown rice, instead of picking that white bread, white rice, and pastries, those sugary types of foods. So tips for adding more fiber into your diet. I kind of jumped ahead of myself a little bit, but instead of using that white rice, we're going to use brown rice, switching over into whole grain bread or whole wheat bread. Choosing a bran muffin over a croissant or a pastry. That's a really good tip. Doing baked potatoes instead of mashed potatoes. So the reason for that is because most of the fiber is located on the skin. Okay. So we want to have that skin of that baked potato or that sweet potato. Popcorn, whole grain popcorn also is another example that has that fiber protein combination. So grabbing that for a snack instead of potato chips. And then lastly, when it comes to our fruits, actually eat our fruits instead of sipping to that juice. Make sure you're having those fruits with the skin to get in that fiber content. Also, adding in that fiber, what's the number one most important thing? Drinking plenty of water. Okay, so why is that? Why is every dietitian say drink 64 ounces of water per day? So fiber absorbs water. So the more fiber you add to your diet, the more fluids you should drink. So water is another thing that's essential for your digestive system and fighting against cancer. It's going to stimulate that immune system, remove waste and toxins from your body, and it's also going to help actually transport nutrients to all of your organs throughout your entire body. So I always like telling my patients the reason why I want them doing what they're doing. So I really recommend doing that 64 ounces of water every single day. So we also want to cut down on that meat, right? Okay. We don't want to overconsume tons and tons of red meat, especially the meat that's loaded with saturated fat. Okay, so your meats like your Delmonico steaks or your ribeye, your better ones that you have are your sirloin steaks, your tenderloin steaks, and keeping them in moderation, anywhere from that 4 to 6 ounces. We also want to be careful of GMOs. Some meat in the United States can contain antibiotics and hormones. Okay, so we really want to be conscientious of that. Meats can also develop carcinogenic compounds. So we want to be careful of the meats that we're picking at the grocery store. Making healthier meat and protein options. So keeping your red meat to a minimum, not overdoing it. Eating red meat, I tell people about twice a month is probably a good amount. Reducing your portion size of meat, keeping in portion size of really everything, and then throwing in some plant-based proteins and those leaner meats like we already talked about. So the plant-based proteins being tofu, edamame, your beans, as you see here, and avoiding those processed meats. Then we talk about fats, right? Choosing those anti-inflammatory fats. So your polyunsaturated and your monounsaturated fats can actually help protect you against cancer. So those are your omega-3 and omega-6 fats. Super, super important to incorporate into the diet every single day. Examples of those being avocado, salmon, nuts, our healthy oils, right? All super, super important. So fats that it can increase your cancer risk, your saturated fats, which we find a lot of the time in those animal products, or your dairy. If you're consuming whole milk or regular cheeses, you want to go with those low fat products. And then we want to completely avoid trans fats. So trans fats are so bad for you. In 2015, they banned them from being sold in grocery stores, but you can still get them in fast food restaurants. So be cautious of that. Read the nutrition facts labels before you're ordering if you're eating and grabbing on the go. So, like I already said, those fats that decrease your risk, the unsaturated fats, the omega-3 fatty acids, those omega-3 fatty acids can help fight your inflammation and support brain and heart health. It can also, on the flip side and right side of things, can help with your mood and concentration. So, where do we get it from? Salmon's a really good source, probably the most popular one, I would say. Tuna, flax seeds, chia seeds, things like that, all excellent sources of those omega-3 fatty acids. So tips for choosing healthy fats and avoiding the unhealthy fats. Okay, so right, dairy, we want to choose the low fat dairy, eating fish about twice a week, adding nuts and seeds into your diet, adding things like avocado, choosing those lean cuts of meat or trimming the fat actually off the meat, reducing your consumption of tons of fatty red meats, whole milk, and butter. So tips for avoiding carcinogens. Do not cook oils on high heat. Okay. That's super, super important. You don't want to burn your foods. That's considered to be carcinogenic foods, especially when you're barbecuing. We're getting into the summer now. You want to be really careful of that. And the last tip I'm going to tell you is being careful when you put it in the microwave. Okay. That can also cause carcinogenic foods. So prepare your food in healthy ways. You want to at least eat some raw fruits and vegetables. When you're cooking your vegetables, you want to steam until they're tender. We don't want to burn them, right? Because we know that can cause carcinogenic things. You want to wash all your fruits and veggies, sticking with that organic, and your flavor food with immune boosting herbs and spices. So the bottom line, we want to maintain overall a healthy weight, get in that physical activity, avoid the sugary drinks completely, right? We don't want to have those, or if we do, we want to have them in moderation and incorporate your fruits, your vegetables, and whole grains every single day, okay? And then after treatment, cancer patients should follow the recommendations for cancer prevention moving forward. So today, your take-home challenge is to get in that movement 5 days a week for 30 minutes, whether it's going for a walk with your husband or taking your dog for a walk or whatever it may be. I want you to do 30 minutes of movement for 5 days a week. Choose one day of the week to avoid that red meat, right? That not so lean cut. And I want you to eat a fruit or vegetable at every meal and snack. Incorporate that in some way. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you have a great night, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.